Hey, welcome to Radicalize Me. We're talking about Anna Kasparian. She's had another episode. Yeah, she's really moving down the left pipeline pretty quickly these days. She was on some show. So this guy Eric Abinante, I don't know if it's his show or what. I don't care. There's 4 clips here. I'm going to go through these and just talk about plausible deniability she's building and the steps she's taking on kind of the checklist. Interesting story about how a guy named Jeff changed Anna's view of Trump supporters.
And so I'm like, like trying to get his bicycle like up the stairs. And all of a sudden, this man stops me. His name's Jeff. And he's like, hey, let me help you out with that. And he starts helping me out. He stopped everything he was doing to help me out. And then Jeff and I became very close. You know, one of my neighbors who I really like, he was my favorite person in the entire building.
Nice little story about meeting a neighbor and they hit it off and they're just friends. I think she's married, but um, yeah, okay, cool. Where are we going with this?
And years go by. One day we're in an HOA meeting, homeowners association, and
Well, I'm glad you stopped to let the plebs know what an HOA is. Maybe you want to hold a glass of champagne while you say that? Pop in a monocle?
of our like one of the people living in the building said something about Trump that was negative. I don't remember what it is. And Jeff whispers in my ear, "Oh, she's going to start trashing Trump. I'm out of here." And it hit me that he's a Trump supporter.
They never talked about politics. Okay, so this lady says something about Trump, and he said, if she's about to trash Trump, I'm out of here. So if you're following, the story is about being more open minded about Trump supporters. And the good guy Trump supporter she's talking about says he's not open minded about liberals or leftists. If someone doesn't like Trump, he's leaving the room. but you guys are the problem.
And I'm like, so I got to know Jeff before I knew what his politics were. Incredibly kind guy. He helps everyone in this building with anything they might need. And so that woke me up
Great.
to wait a minute. Not all Trump supporters are like dangerous, evil individuals. And yes, it was stupid that I thought that to begin with. Like
So I don't believe that it took Anna until she was 38 years old to realize that Republicans are human. She's been a political commentator for almost 2 decades. She's been enough places. She's met enough people. Maybe this is too vibes based, but I'm just not buying the ignorance angle. I think she's saying this to telegraph to the right wing audience that liberals or leftists think all Trump supporters are evil. Again, she's going down this checklist of all the right curious talking points before she can make the final transition. They all do this. But like, speak for yourself, Anna. Like, I don't think in terms of good and evil, and I don't obsess over individuals this way. She was friends with Michael Brooks. She worked closely with him. And I don't believe it took her all of 4 years to forget that you're supposed to be kind to people and ruthless to systems. I really think she's acting.
it was stupid that I thought that to begin with. Like I'm embarrassed admitting that, but it's just how I believed. And that kind of was one of the moments where it's like a light bulb went off and something was telling me you need to scratch beneath the surface a little more because you don't have a realistic view of what's going on here.
Well, I'll give her that. She doesn't have a realistic view of what's going on. Yeah, there's, another quote about scratching below the surface comes to mind that I believe Stalin said once. Okay, next there's this one. Anna Kasparian admitting she was guilty of Trump derangement syndrome and that Trump, quote, broke her brain.
I think that politics has substituted religion to some extent.
So this is a tell. Again, she's going down the checklist. They all say all of this. Because the thing is, if you're a leftist or a liberal and suddenly one day you announce that now you're a conservative, that's not believable. It starts when you realize you're in your mid to late 30s and you haven't gotten that big payout like Hassan Piker did. And you see your friends Ben Shapiro and Dave Rubin making ridiculous amounts of money for Very little effort. So you put some feelers out. I don't want to be called a birthing person. I'm a biological woman. Karen Bass does have a point about crime. The situation at the border really is out of hand. Right? And then you get all these leftists in your comments correcting you. And maybe some of them are being a little rude. But then you get to hit another one of the classics. The left are out of control. If you don't believe everything the exact same as they do, they get vicious. The left is attacking me for having a difference of opinion. This is why the left loses. And it's all just inching her closer and closer to the inevitable why I left the left, which she might flip around like some of them do and say, well, I didn't leave the left. The left left me. And all of our minds get blown for hearing that for the 34th time today.
This religious zealotry toward their political beliefs.
Okay, so when people say this, people have religious zealotry about their political beliefs. I don't know what they want. Like, should we not actually believe what we believe? If I know what I'm talking about on an issue because I've sought out quality evidence and done the reading, am I supposed to be ready to completely change my mind at any moment because some random person feels very strongly that I'm wrong, even if they have no evidence? Yeah, I think two types of people make this argument. And it's either people who identify as centrist, and a lot of the time they're like kind of insecure about being centrist or like not having strong political beliefs because they have never paid attention or whatever it is. So they kind of project and they get upset when people express political views very strongly. You know, they'll say things like, isn't the answer somewhere in between, right? Even if that's true, even if the answer is somewhere in between, you have to know what it's between, right? So shouldn't you be thankful if you're trying to find the perfect happy medium? Shouldn't you be thankful that there are people expressing strong opinions about it one way or the other, so you know what you have to be in between of?
And when that happens, it's really difficult to have a conversation with someone without it immediately devolving into allegations of bad faith, of
One thing I just noticed about this is she says it's really difficult to have a conversation. And that is one of the other tells. But I'm realizing that is one of the tells because this is the left pipeline as developed by political commentators. So she's not going to say something like, it makes it really difficult to come to a reasonable solution. It makes it really difficult to work together to come to the best possible analysis of the situation. No, she would never think in those terms. It's the conversation. It's the debates I'm having with fucking Daily Wire hosts. It's the fights I get into on Twitter, because that's her life, is sitting around talking about this shit and not experiencing these problems day to day. And to be fair, there's an element of that with political commentators. And I think we need political commentators. If your job is to talk about stuff, you're spending more time talking about stuff instead of out doing or experiencing stuff. But I think, again, Anna's not making as much money as she would like at TYT, and that's probably why she's doing this. But TYT is pretty well established at this point, and she's been the co-anchor for 17, 18 years now. So she's a little removed from the problems she's discussing.
And so maybe that's part of it. But honestly, I didn't really notice this as an issue in America until Donald Trump was running for president and then after he got elected as president.
This conversation has been happening for my entire life. Trust me, this is not a today thing. It's not a Trump thing. People are always talking about this because it's an easy win to talk about, oh, we're so divided and I wish we could come together, and what about unity and all this shit. People are remembering an imagined past when there was unity or cohesion or whatever you want to call it, but it's always been like this. This is how politics works because it's a contentious thing. It's how do we run society? Like whose ideas of how to have a society, a civilization at all are implemented. And these have really big life and death consequences. So people are fucking crazy about it. That's the way it is. You can look back and see, mudslinging campaigns between Jefferson and Adams in the presidential races. It's just how it is.
And I am 1,000,000% guilty of honestly allowing him to kind of break my brain for a little bit, because I saw him as such a significant threat. I think that
Yeah, I mean, there is truth to that. I think that liberals, I use the same phrase a lot of the time, broke their brains when it came to Trump. And I think it's really bad that people acted so much like Trump was much, much worse than anyone who's been in politics before, or he's uniquely dangerous and in a way that like most Republicans aren't. It's not honest. And I think it comes from liberal sensibilities, just about decorum and politeness that they imagine is or was, again, used to be like this respectable politics that we had. Tip O'Neill and Reagan got drinks, like whatever stupid thing like that. But it's nonsense. Anna admitting she was wrong on remain in Mexico. So that was I guess it was Trump's immigration policy.
And certain reversals of Trump era immigration policies, which at the time I didn't give Trump credit for because he wasn't really applauded for it. And I didn't realize that, the remain in Mexico policy was actually very successful. And Biden reversing it did lead to the crisis at the border that ended up being a political liability that backed him up.
Hold up. So it was very effective. How? By just not letting people over the border? Like, you're still not dealing with people's asylum claims. You're still going to have people trying to get in, not through an official entry point, but okay. So she said it was actually very successful, and Biden reversing it led to the crisis at the border. The crisis at the border is a manufactured right-wing hysteria. Are there a lot of people trying to request asylum? Yes. Is that a national security threat? Not really. What we would really need to do to handle this is add more immigration judges, add more people to work as public defenders to represent people in these asylum claims, and then create a simple, just more streamlined pathway to legal status, asylum, citizenship. That's how you handle this. If it's a problem of people being undocumented for a litany of reasons, then we got to work on documenting them. We have very large government agencies handling these things, and we have a ton of money in this country. There's no reason we can't do this and do a lot of good for current citizens. But that's just never been on the table because of draconian Republican policy, some draconian Democratic policy as well. And now Democrats just ceding the entire argument to Republicans, just accepting their version of reality as the truth when it's just not. It's a glorified moral panic. It's the satanic panic, but with just migrant workers.
Into a corner, and suddenly he's hitting up Republicans in the Senate, asking them to write legislation that Republicans would like. So there are some flaws on the left for sure. And I think it's important to be real about those.
Yeah, the left, like Biden. Noted leftist Joseph Robinette Biden.
Those flaws and certain reversals of Trump era immigration and certain left for sure. And I think it's important to be real about those flaws.
It's important to be real about the flaws on the left, like Biden doing Republican immigration policy. That's what she just said. There's a lot of problems on the left, like being conservative All right. And so this one, he says, Anna on the defeatist attitude of Democrats. Anna Kasparian is done with America hating. All right.
Well, I started thinking about my own life and how that mindset was actually having a real world impact on my life. In terms of like just this defeatist attitude, feeling as though I don't have all these opportunities that people used to have in this country. And look, some things have devolved
This is so telling. She's I was just blaming Republicans for not having the opportunities I wish I had. When you go crazy with jealousy because your co-anchor's nephew becomes insanely wealthy after leaving your company, that just common hypothetical that I just thought of for some reason.
in this country. Like, that's certainly true. However, there is a reason why so many people from all around the world are trying to come in to the United States. This is a land
The
of
foreign
opportunity,
policy.
even
Oh, okay.
still.
Again, I thought she was maybe gonna pull out a Michael Brooksism about why do people come to America to seek asylum? Well, many of them are coming from places where we have intervened, done coups, invaded, bombed, brought in the extraction economy, essentially enslaving the population. This is why people get accused of, upholding white supremacy or being on the right when you talk about, oh, America's the land of opportunity, like this kind of thing. It might not seem that way. It might just seem like, well, that's kind of a neutral thing to say and believe. But this is inherently reactionary, what she's doing here, which is to ignore any material analysis we can make about why people come here, why there's an influx at certain moments in time, like there is currently, and simply knowing what it does to a place when an imperialist power invades, does a coup, bombs, brings in big industry, all of this stuff. If you're just going to ignore that and say, well, America's the land of opportunity, it's giving just a soundbite, just these little, very consumable truisms that are easy for people to pick up and start believing because it's hard to actually look into things and study and learn about all the stuff that actually causes these things to happen. You give people nuggets like it's the land of opportunity, then you have a nice little narrative and we can just go on ignoring the US imperial foreign policy.
And I want to find ways to empower people to get after it, to go for their dreams, to not have a defeatist attitude or mentality. I don't want to
Clean up your room.
infantilize people. I think people, regardless of their race, regardless of where they come from,
Oh my
have the
God.
capacity to do amazing things. And what I
Babble, 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 babble. This is nonsense. She sounds like Kamala Harris. She's saying so much nothing, man. Like, this is so, it's sad to see because, again, Anna was friends with Michael Brooks. I've never thought she and Cenk were all that great as kind of leftist thinkers, activists, whatever. But she was certainly on the right track on a lot of things. And she had a bit of sociology to her past comments and analysis. And pretty soon, I think there's already plenty of material out there. We're going to be able to do an Anna versus Anna compilation the way you see so many of those with Destiny, because he had years of being a kind of left liberal streamer, debater before then doing whatever he's doing now. And he did kind of the thing that Anna seems to be doing here. It's like it's Babel, and it's just like a hypnosis tool to get people just like lulled into kind of a post Thanksgiving dinner kind of stupor where they go like, opportunity, yes. Don't infantilize. Oh, yes. No, go for your dreams. I don't. Yeah, totally, Anna. You've inspired me. And maybe she does. Maybe you hear this and you go like, I'm going to write that fucking novel. Great. But a lot of people write a lot of novels. A lot of people go for their fucking dreams. And the fact is, when there are economic and social obstacles in the way, and people don't understand those because you've given them the little nuggets, then you have a cycle of reactionary sentiment forming and reforming and hardening over time. The material analysis has left the building.
I'm just disgusted by right now with one faction on the left. It's not everyone on the left, but it is a faction. They are very successful themselves. They've gone to wonderful universities. They've gotten a great education. They have lucrative careers. But their lucrative career really hinges on spreading this message that there are no opportunities left in America.
She's really going for it, man. You can say it's the land of opportunity. You can go for your dreams. You can be a fucking movie star, whatever we're talking about here. But again, a lot of people do a lot of these things, and not everyone's going to be a movie star. Not everyone's going to be a TYT host. Not everyone's going to be Hassan Piker, right? So what you need then is a fucking society with a little bit of a safety net at the very least. You need a society that provides services, because we have a large, complex society now. And that's okay. We don't need to like cut down into little tribes or something. We just need to embrace the fact that it takes a lot to keep this machine moving. And in order to do that, we need to provide things for citizens. But this is one of those things that Anna, I think, used to understand and then kind of just let herself forget, that to be a land of opportunity, the land has to provide certain things: healthcare, education, housing. Obviously, I would like a lot of these things just decommodified. But even if we're just talking about a lot of liberal societies, a lot of social democratic societies, you just need to provide some of these things. And that increases people's opportunities. It increases their morale. It just gives them some wiggle room, some freedom to make these choices, to go for their dreams, right? Whatever the fuck we're talking about. Not everyone people need to be able to get their hands on the basics. Because if people are spending all their time fighting for those basics, then you're not going to have as many people reaching their full potential, going for their dreams. Whatever thing you're talking about here, let's build a floor.
Everything is, all of our systems are set up in a way to discriminate against certain groups of people. They're never going to be able to make it unless we burn the system down. And what that does is it plants a seed in people's heads.
The institutional hurdles were the seed. The material analysis, the socialist critique you're talking about, came about because of the conditions. People didn't just one day imagine that, oh, there might be institutional hurdles. We gotta write thousands of books about this. And then that put the idea in people's heads that there was racism and sexism and class and wealth disparity. That's not how the world works, Anna. So no, I don't think that pointing out the problems plants a seed in people's heads that you'll never make it. There's no way you could ever make it unless we burn it down. No, of course not. People are going to do the best given what they're given. But at the same time, we can talk about, well, why is it that you were given what you're given and not more and not better? And then making these comparisons too of, okay, why did this person get this much and this person started out with way more? This person started out with way less. And what are the factors that contribute to these disparities? How can we go about building a society where these disparities don't exist in the first place? So that's what the analysis is. It's supposed to lead us to conclusions that show us what problems need to be solved and how we can solve them in many cases. I mean, I think what I get from it when people say stuff like, I'm done with the America hating, is that, okay, now we're talking about something else. Now we're talking about nationalism. We're talking about patriotism. I'm not going to rag on America because that's my country and I love it. And I just think, well, if you love it, then wouldn't you want to help it? Wouldn't you want to? I loved my cat, so I would take her to the doctor, take her to the vet when something seemed wrong with her. You know what I mean? Right? You want to improve the things you love because you care about them. So if you want to see it as patriotism, I don't see how it doesn't fit. But I don't think it's really about that. I think it's a reactionary tendency, and it gives people a sense of pride that, like, this is a special place, and I am special that I'm here, and I'm way better off here than in any of those other places. And then you can just go on robbing people, putting people through the ringer of this economic system we have, while saying, hey, come on, this is the land of opportunity. I'm holding a Coke. You're like, that's why I smoke Lucky Strikes. Let's finish this off.
And it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. And I don't want to feed into that. I want to find ways to empower people while also understanding, hey, there are some systemic flaws that maybe we can reform and make better.
So she's talking about a faction of the left. You know, she's probably talking about Hassan. That's usually who she's talking about. But that we're saying there's no opportunities left in America, that's just, again, she's telling a really nice story here and setting herself up for, I think, probably a new stage in her career where she's going to just keep moving further and further to the right while keeping a toe on the left until eventually the whole Anna goes over there. Like, just be a motivational speaker. Just be a self-help author. If you just want to inspire people to reach their full potential and be their best selves, then yeah, there's a shelf for you at Barnes & Noble. But you shouldn't tell this story. You shouldn't give this nugget if you are in the political commentary space from the left, and your job is to point out the problems and the solutions. You can't just do, a little throwaway line about reforms at the end of that there. This is transparent. Again, it looks like a checklist. I thought about going and compiling an actual checklist, like what step by step, how leaving the left works. But I didn't get around to that. I don't know if someone's maybe done that, but let me know in the comments if you'd like to see that, because that could be a bit of fun. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. Hit us up on Patreon. See you next time.